Welcome into the Big Chief Show on a Sunday morning, pregame, final week 18 of the 2023 NFL season. It's your boy Freddie D alongside the one, the man, the myth, the legend, Raider Nation's one of Raider Nation's greatest contributors, supporters. He may or may not. It's kind of like he's kind of like a battered woman, right? The Raiders
just keep coming back.
They've thrown him downstairs. They've told him that they're going to quit. They've told him that that they're going to love him more. And each and every time they slap him around once.
Yep. They keep telling me that next year's going to be better.
They keep telling him next year's going to be better. Nobody will listen to him.
Nope.
And so here we are. But, look, today's a different day. You've got it's not that you're not playing for anything. These guys are playing today for Antonio Pierce. Okay. Yeah. Yes, they're not jockeying for any draft position. Of course, if they lose, they will get a one spot better or whatever it may be. But Antonio Pierce, and Mike, I read an article this morning. I can't remember if it was NFL.com or ESPN, but everybody's kind of saying the same thing right now. And it might have been Ian Rappaport for NFL Network. But basically the deal is this. They want to talk to Belichick. They want to talk to Harbaugh. And if neither of those two come to fruition, they want Antonio Pierce. So Antonio and the Belichick thing, I think, is more I don't know what the interest is. I think they're more interested in Harbaugh than they are in Belichick.
Well, I sure as hell hope so, because Belichick is he's got 3 strikes against him as far as Raider Nation is concerned. Number one, he's the Patriot way, and we want nothing to do with that, especially after the debacle that was Josh McDaniels over the last year and a half. Number two, he's 72 years old. And number 3, he's a defensive-minded coach, and we don't have a problem with our defense right now. Our defense is top 10, and since Antonio Pierce took over, is the number 1 scoring defense in the NFL.
Right.
And here's, I'll throw another one out there. Raider Nation doesn't want, including me, especially me, we don't want another rebuild. We've been doing rebuilds since Jack Del Rio was unceremoniously fired, at the end of the 2017 season, I believe, and the 2018 season. And it's just been an absolute revolving door of head coaches, GMs, play callers, quarterbacks, offensive schemes, defensive schemes, the whole thing. I mean, we've had Gus Bradley, we've had Paul Gunther, what a disaster that was. And we want some continuity, and Antonio Pierce has brought some continuity and some sanity and some pride back into that clubhouse, into that locker room, into the whole entire facility. And look, there's a lot to be said for Jim Harbaugh. I mean, what he did with the 49ers, especially what a mess they were before he came in, was nothing short of amazing. In 2 years, he took them to the Super Bowl. But he also wore out his welcome with the Niners brass, too.
The only thing I'm going to say about that is this, and I know he catches a lot of flack, but I think on the flip side of that, too, though, I think we found out later that wasn't Trent Baalke the GM, and Jed York, I think, is widely known as kind of a difficult person to work with. And Trent Baalke, look, there's questions as to why he's even still in Jacksonville, for crying out loud. So that situation in San Francisco was a little goofed up there towards the end. I don't think it's all
right. I don't place all the blame on Jim Harbaugh, but you got to agree that Jim is a little bit quirky at times, can do some
100%.
Right? I mean, he could do some things that can raise the eyebrows for sure, but
you better have a thick-skinned GM and owner if you're gonna. You better be confident in your standing if you're gonna bring on a Jim Harbaugh, because if you're not, Jim Harbaugh is gonna make you feel real insecure real quick, because that's just the way that dude is.
And there's a contingent of Raider Nation that really kind of laments, Dave Ziegler getting thrown out with the bathwater. When he was fired, along with Josh McDaniels, and he was actually kind of a pretty decent personnel guy, but at the same time he made some mistakes. He let go of Alec Ingold, a fan favorite.
Even though he didn't want to, though, that was not technically his call.
He didn't want to, but he let to. But the thing was that he was supposed to have the entire the final personnel say, and we know that is not wasn't the case really. You know, it's certainly, and a lot of Raider Nation says, you know, they point to what C.J. Stroud did, and God bless him, God bless C.J. Stroud for leading the Texans into the playoffs in his rookie year, a 10-7 season, phenomenal season. And they said, well, you know, if it hadn't been for Josh McDaniels, we would have been, if Josh McDaniels would have, you know, just acquiesced and let us pick C.J. Stroud, then we would have, you know, probably could have been in the playoffs. Yeah, but we still would have Josh McDumbass as our head coach. Okay, and there's no guarantee that Josh McDaniels would have maintained those double-digit leads that he ended up blowing. I mean, he still blew 5 double-digit leads in the second half of last year's games. He was still the problem. So C.J. Stroud probably would have masked some underlying issues with the Raiders. So, you know, in the end, I think it was good that, you know, overall that C.J. Stroud didn't come to the Raiders with the second overall pick. So we've got a new lease on life.
Well, I mean, look, I don't know if I could look. I don't know that if you told me that I would have had to have endured Josh McDaniels to get C.J. Stroud, I think I could have lived with that. Now, again, maybe he still fires him when it's all said and done, but at the end of the day, you still got a franchise quarterback. I mean, that's because look, the quarterback's going to outlast the coach.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
And look, if he was causing the problems that he was still causing and causing the rifts and the internal shit that he's caused already, tell you what, if you let's put it this way: if this team had C.J. Stroud at quarterback, I'll tell you what, you want to talk about you'd have to beat candidates off with.
The thing is that the infancy of the NFL quarterback is so important. The first year or two, look what's happened to Justin Fields in Chicago. Look what's happened to Trevor Lawrence in his first year in Jacksonville. Hell, look what happened to the number 1 overall pick in Bryce Young. Those years are lost. They're wasted. I mean, look what people are talking about with Justin Herbert. I mean, his rookie deal has been wasted playing under Brandon Staley, who's been an absolute fucking mess in his 3 of his first 5 years of his deal. So I hear what you're saying, Fred. I totally agree with you that the quarterback does outlast a head coach, but at what cost to his development? So,
well, the only thing I'll say is this, because and look, I'm no Josh McDaniels supporter by any means, but tell you what, my exhibit 1A, because look, you can throw out you can throw out all the Tom Brady years, because we know obviously what TB12 does, but I would look at exhibit A, and exhibit A is that look at what Mac Jones did for 1 year under Josh McDaniels, to the point where now this guy looks like, you know, this guy's literally going to try to salvage his career this next coming season, right? Because of what a shit show he's looked like since he left Josh McDaniels. And again, that's a whole other story for another time. But I totally get what you're saying. Look, it's going to be a very, you know, and of course, all the conversations about what you're waiting on coaching wise. Look, Ron Rivera's out. We know that. That's no big surprise. And really, I think they just went ahead and kept him all season. He was dead man walking when the season started. And you and I have already talked about it. He's not that great of a head coach. Okay. He's really, really not. He's just a shade over or above or below 500. That's what he is. Nothing wrong with that. But again, he's not taking your franchise any further than a middling franchise as to what it is. I think we can both agree that Belichick will get let go. I think if he was going to be, you know, and you talked about this yesterday, I think it was, Mike, if he wasn't going anywhere, then you wouldn't be having that conversation with him tomorrow about his future. Okay. The conversation tomorrow is, gentlemen, it's been real. How do we want to word this press release? And I wish everybody nothing but the best moving forward. Like, that's probably, and knowing the brevity of Bill Belichick and Robert Kraft, that's probably about as long as that conversation is going to be tomorrow.
Yeah, it's going to be very direct, and it's not going to. They're not going to mince words. Jonathan and Bob Kraft are going to meet with him on Monday to decide the future. Jonathan, it's no secret that Bob Kraft has been very, very disappointed as to how far and how fast the Patriots have fallen off the cliff. You know, considering the success that they've had over the last 20 some years. And, again, Belichick's 70. He's going to be 72 years old here starting next season. And so what else does he have left to prove? You know?
I'll tell you what he's got left to prove. He's got to win to get the most total wins in NFL history. I mean,
that's true. The only thing I see salvaging this is if Belichick gives up player control. Control of player personnel. Huh?
I think he has to.
He has to. That's the only thing that keeps him in New England. Other than that, right off into the sunset,
I don't know if that would be necessarily what keeps him in New England. I wonder if he would agree to now. Look, if he were to agree to say, "All right, you know what? I will take a back seat and let the GM do the GM stuff, and I'm just going to coach the football team and just give my little pieces here and there." But I just wonder if because he's done it for so long, is the record? The bottom line is, I think it's twofold. A, is the record big enough for New England to have him hold on? Because they want to see him get the record in a New England uniform or with a New England sweatshirt on. And B, would he agree to taking a lesser role on the personnel side, which again, Stevie Wonder can see at this point that Bill Belichick, look, what's that old adage? If you got to keep the main thing. He needs to keep coaching the main thing because look, say what you want. As pathetic as that defense, as pathetic as that football team is, a defense has been legit this season. Let's call it what it is. If they just had average quarterback play, we're talking about a team that might be playing for a playoff spot or in the conversation at the end of the season because that's how good that defense has been this year.
Right. If they didn't have average quarterback, such dismal quarterback play, if their running back room was somewhat healthy, if they hadn't lost Christian Gonzalez early in the season to the knee injury.
He got hurt. And they still balled defensively.
Yeah, they did. They played hard. So it remains to be seen what's going to happen with Bill Belichick. I really do think that he needs to absolutely. But here's the thing, though, Fred. Even if he cedes control, look how long it took the Texans to rebuild that roster. At least 2 seasons, right? 2 off seasons.
Oh, yeah.
So you're asking Bill Belichick to hang on as a defensive guru, so to speak, the head coach for at least through the 2025 season. Do Bob and Jonathan Kraft want to put up with that while they rebuild this roster? And what's the end game? Okay, so he hangs on for 2 seasons so they can rebuild the roster and get a decent offense for what? For him to be 75 years old? And then where do you go?
Well, I think it's the same whether you bring in Belichick or whether you bring in, whoever, whatever you do, whether you do bring in a new GM or a new coach. I think every NFL team is saying to themselves, we're a quarterback away from a good quarterback can change. Let's call it what it is. Do we really think if you remove, think about it this way. Do we really think that the roster in Indianapolis is that much better than the roster in New England?
Well, they have a much.
They've got some pieces. Here's the thing: they've got a few pieces that are more. Look, they've got a better quarterback. They've got a better running back.
They got a much better running back.
Okay,
they got a much better offensive line. They got a much better offensive line.
That finally got back. That finally got its mind. That finally got back together. And see, I don't think the Texans. Look, I don't think the Colts. I don't think the Patriots' offensive line is that bad. I think the fact is that they're look, when you've got quarterback play as putrid as that has been, and again, the Texans to me, plain and simple, are the poster child for this is what happens when you take a moribund franchise and give them a generational talent at quarterback. Okay, because we saw just 2 weeks ago, the same Texans team looked like absolute dog shit without C.J. Stroud at quarterback when you had a 10-year vet in Case Keenum, who, again, is going to do just enough to help you either win games or not lose games, okay? So it's not like he's going out there just lighting the ball up on the yard. And so my thing is that if you're the Patriots or just, or the Raiders, obviously the Raiders are in a little bit better shape, you're a quarterback away from saying, you know what? All of a sudden a Raider team that's on the verge of being, 8-9 this season? Suddenly, now you take 2 of those losses, or dare I say 3 of those. Let's say we take 2. Now all of a sudden, instead of being 7-9, now you're 9-7, and you're competing for a playoff spot today.
They shouldn't have lost to the Bears, and now they should. Now you think about it, they really shouldn't have lost to the Steelers, even though I picked them to lose the Steelers in week 3.
Right.
And honestly, Fred, and don't take this the wrong way, they shouldn't have blown a 14, maybe even a 17-0 lead to the Chiefs at home. I mean, you've got. I know, but you know what I mean. I mean, you don't blow leads like. Okay, let's say it's not the.
No, but they do. Look, all jokes aside, they do blow. I mean, look, you guys. That's and that look. Winning teams fight, and that Raiders Chiefs game, the first game,
and you don't get shut out by the fucking Vikings.
Well, that to me was if there was a game that I would look at where I would question AP, where you can legit draw on, okay, you did nothing coaching wise to make any kind of major adjustments.
None.
Right? Like you got Jimmy. There was look, and even you can agree.
Yeah.
There were times in that game where Jimmy G would have given you a better chance to compete than what you got from AOC. He wasn't going to be any worse. Okay, he wasn't going to be any worse. And if you're AP, you need all the pelts on the wall you can get.
Yeah, and you can even say that the Raiders won in spite of AOC against the Chiefs in Arrowhead because he completed no passes after the first quarter.
Well, that and in that case, AP showed every bit why he's a defensive head coach, and that would be my only concern. Now, again, he's new to this; he's got limited resources in which to work with, and I guess my only question, if I was Mark Davis, one of the biggest questions I would have for him at the end or during a if we're bringing him back type of interview, why didn't you make any changes when it came to the Minnesota game or when it came to the Kansas City Chiefs game? I get it. You were winning that game and maybe that, and look, you're up 2 scores. So I get it. Your defense was balling. I'm not going to beat you up nearly as much or question it near as much in that Chiefs game. But the Minnesota game is like, bro, we couldn't put a fucking field goal on the board and we're fighting for playoff position. And you mean to tell me that you couldn't, you got a Super Bowl quarterback, not a Super Bowl winning quarterback, but you got a Super Bowl caliber quarterback on your bench, and you stuck fucking, Mr. AOC out there to flail and do what he did.
There was also one play that really turned the tide against the Raiders. They were driving, and then Hunter Renfrow
did spit the bit on that one. I get it.
Yeah, and you know what, he has a propensity to fumble. I think that play just sealed his fate as a Raider. I mean, I just because he fumbles the ball too much, he's too slight, he's too he gets hurt too often. The other game too is
he fumbles too much.
He fumbles too much. The other game too is really where Mark Davis can really take AP to the mat was the Indianapolis Colts game. There was a situation where they had 4-1 in the Indianapolis. I think it was in the third quarter at the Indy 38-yard line, and then they tried this backward pass lateral bullshit involving Jacoby Myers and AOC, and luckily the pass fell incomplete back to Jacoby Myers. Otherwise, it would have been a disaster. So then it's 4th and 1. Then of course Jermaine Uleminor, I think that's how you pronounce his name. The right tackle false started for the first of 3 times. 3rd and 1 became 4th and 6, and they had to punt the ball. It's like, wait a minute, you've got Zamir White. You've got a good running game going. Stop fucking around and just run it right down their goddamn throats. But instead, they try to get a little too cute. What I'm saying is that AP should have said, when he hears the call on the headset, he should have said, timeout, went over to Bo Hargreaves upstairs or wherever. It's like, are you out of your fucking mind? No. We're not doing this. Okay? We got them. They were driving. They were driving. And they were inside the 40-yard line of Indianapolis in a tight game. And it's like, that's where he has to take over. Now, maybe this is the education of Antonio Pierce as a head coach, but he should have asserted himself in that case and just overruled him and say, you know what, you're going to call something else because this is too gadgety. Okay, we don't need to do this shit.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see what happens. Tomorrow's going to be an interesting day for a lot of folks. And I get everybody's, and we feel so bad for the coaches and their families. Boo, boo, boo. Okay, whatever. All right, it's a cutthroat league. All right, that's
everybody says the same thing. It's a results-oriented business. They expect it. Hell, if you read the article in The Athletic where they interviewed Leslie Frazier, Norv Turner,
bottom line business, Mike Babbo.
What's that?
Bottom line business, Mike Babbo.
It's a bottom line business. They all expect it, especially when they start hearing the rumors around the 3 weeks left in the season when things aren't going well. They try to block it out. They feel more bad for their families, and especially the stuff that they're hearing in school or at work or whatever outside the building. There's nothing that they can do about it. But then they just see that that it's a tidal wave. And like Norv Turner said when he was expecting to get fired from the Raiders, it was a relief. In some cases they just don't get along with the owner. And in a lot of cases, the owner is the one who's really the problem because they're new at it. Look at Dave Tepper. Now he's arguably the worst owner in the NFL, if not in sports. He doesn't know what the hell he's doing. And so
he'll figure it out. He'll figure
it out. But in the end, but my point is, but in the process, good people lose their jobs. Okay. And you can't. I think it was.
You know what I don't feel bad about. I get it, but at the same time, too, you know what? They all get paid.
They all get paid.
The NFL is notorious for the billions. I don't know if it's billions, but I think at one point I saw a thing, and this was last season, where I think it was like upwards of like $600-700 million in back contracts owed to coaches and assistants that have been fired in the NFL for like the last decade. So you know what? I get it. It's sad. It's tough on your family, but that's what you sign up for. You know what you're getting into when you get into that business. You know what? You can get fired at any time. All right. If the team doesn't play well, or if you don't do your job, you get let go. And then if you do, guess what? You get paid. They
all understand the consequences. They do. The only thing is that Leslie Frazier was let go by the Minnesota Vikings back in 2012, looking for another head coaching job. He's done very well as a defensive coordinator. That's the shame of it all. But in the end, you're right. Fred, they're not.
He walked away from the Bills, though. He did walk away from the Bills on his own last year because from what I read, him and Sean McDermott pretty much threw him under the bus after the playoff loss last year, and Leslie Frazier said, "You know what? I'm out." And I don't blame him. Although right now the Buffalo team is tough. All right, real quick. So we've got an abbreviated show today. Mike's got a trip to the Lynx here in roughly 20 odd minutes. So let's not hex him on his golf game today. All right, real quick. Last night, our boy C.J. Stroud looked every bit of the franchise quarterback that he is. And, of course, I think the biggest takeaway for me last night was and I haven't heard the post-game interviews yet. I don't know what the conversation was. Apparently, I heard something about how Jonathan Taylor was tired and just out of breath, and that's why he wasn't on that 4th and 1 play. I thought I heard them say that on the NFL Network broadcast, NFL radio broadcast of that last night. Because to me, for a guy that had almost $190 and was running all over the Texans, it's 4th and 1, and at the very least, you don't have him in the backfield. So you mean to tell me this guy was that exhausted after running the way he did that he didn't have enough energy to muster up for one more yard in the biggest game of y'all's life this season? I don't know. And then, of course, it was a bad throw. Homeboy drops it.
Actually, Fred, I don't think that's correct. No, he was in that play.
No, he wasn't. He was on the sideline because
but he was in the previous 6 plays.
I get that. That's why I'm asking, why the hell is he not? Why is it that the guy that's been your bell cow the entire game, why is he not in the game at the most important time? And that's what I'm saying. That's why I say they said last night on the broadcast or on the radio broadcast that rumor was
Shane Steichen said in a coaches meeting last week that in case of a 4th and 1, Ty Goodson was the guy who was going to be receiving that pass, and that was a play that they drew up. They've had him in on that play all year for practice. Granted, he wasn't in much at all. He was only in 45 snaps the entire year going up into that game.
And that's what I'm saying.
That was a personnel move. That was not a Jonathan Taylor. Look, the reports were that actually he was listed as doubtful to return because of an ankle injury.
Yeah, and then he came back and
then he ripped off another, I think, 15 yards on that last drive.
Oh, that's what I'm saying. I don't. And look, I get what you're them saying. Look, we ran that, and look, from a play calling standpoint, he was open. The wide play worked. The play worked. I mean, the receiver, the running back was open. He would have had the first down, but you had a guy that he drops the ball because the ball did hit him in the hands, but it wasn't a great throw, right? Like the throw was a little bit behind him.
It was a little bit behind him, but here's my problem with the whole thing in calling him in, especially when I mentioned previously how rarely he had been used the entire year.
There you go.
Let me see if I can explain this. The more reps you have, the more opportunities you see variations of the execution of the play. So he can get used to a play that's either a throw that's either up above his shoulders or down below his knees or behind him or a couple of feet in front of him. Usually you don't get, if you're only in, and they say, well, we practice that. Yeah, but practice and game speed are completely different, okay? This guy had touched the ball 20 times all year long. And for him to be called upon when your season is on the line, not the game, the season's on the line, Shane Steichen has some answers. Or excuse me, he owes some answers.
He got some splaining to do. He's got some explaining to do because again, to me,
both teams. It was a great game. It was a winner take all. It was a playoff atmosphere, right? Win and move on, or lose and go home.
That was a playoff game last night, and our boy D'Amico outcoached our boy Shane Steichen, who again nothing to take away from him. He's had a great year, and and like they kept saying on the broadcast last night. These are two teams that I don't think nobody had the fucking Colts and Texans playing for a playoff game. Look, last year the game was for the number 1 draft pick, right? And the Texans went on to win, and all the consternation in the world.
With a big
okay, and then guess what? They ended up looking like geniuses because C.J. Stroud is going to be a better quarterback. And you know what? I would say this much. I'm not saying that it's easy to look back and play, Monday morning quarterback and say, well, it makes because I'll tell you what, I appreciate my boy Mike Meltzer, but he said something on Mad Dog Radio the other night about how he thinks the Bears should trade that, have to be, can they be trusted with the number 1 pick because they passed on CJ Stroud last year? Well, come on. All right. Nobody said or thought that C.J. Stroud was going to be the guy that he's been this year. Okay,
the word was that he was too slight and he couldn't take hits from NFL defenders.
Well, then what was the other thing that that S2 test or whatever it was that reads your reaction time that he was notoriously bad on, and that's like a great indicator of what quarterbacks are going to be like, and he did terrible on it, and we heard all these things about C.J. Stroud. This much I will say: I like C.J. Stroud better than Bryce Young. I didn't know he was going to be this guy, but I said the only thing I like about C.J. Stroud better than because I was a little nervous about C.J. Stroud myself, but I said the one thing I do like about him better than Bryce Young is he does have prototypical quarterback size. And I'm a big believer in I need my quarterback to be a big dude. Right. Okay? If my guy's 6'2", 6'3", 6'4", bigger, you know what? I can live with that. You start getting below 6 foot, then we start.
No way.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because
trust me.
You see, dude, Bryce Young is tiny, okay? Bryce Young is a little dude, and there's just something about him that worries me a little bit. Now, could he go on to have a Drew Brees-like career? I think he absolutely could, and I think he absolutely will. But I think, as you alluded to earlier, Mike, Dave Tepper's got to take a step back, realize, bro, this ain't the hedge fund game, okay? We understand you've been uber successful in your life and you're expecting things to happen yesterday, but this is the NFL and shit doesn't work like that, okay? Right. And you need to chill the fuck out and let your football people, because you're not a football person, but you need to let your football people do what the fuck football people do and shut the fuck up. And we'll see if he can do that.
That's the thing too, that as money has escalated, blown up in this league. We've gotten a lot less patient. The owners have gotten a lot less patient. They want turnarounds quick. Take a look at Bill Walsh's first couple of years with the Niners. They were abysmal. I think he was 2-14 his first year. I just don't know if today's NFL owner wants to give a coach 3 years to turn things around, and it's unfortunate because of the amount of money that's involved.
No, you're exactly right about that. All right, let's take a look at Texas get the big win last night. They're going to the playoffs. That's a scary team to me. Pittsburgh and Baltimore was an absolute snooze fest. And of course, I almost feel like we should give Pittsburgh we should give them the Florida State treatment. A, their quarterback sucks, and B, no TJ Watt. I mean, do we really think they have a snowball's chance in hell to win, even if they do make it in the playoffs? I don't want to see the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Look, that game was turned on one play. That 70-yard touchdown to Deontay Johnson, or whatever it was. I mean, other than that, Pittsburgh's offense.
Yeah, I mean, look, Mason Rudolph sucks. Kenny Pickett sucks. The Steelers need a new quarterback. All right, and I'm gonna tell you right now, real quick, and I don't care what Justin Fields does today. All right, the Bears are moving away from him. Okay, and they should. All right, whether it's Caleb Williams, whether it's Michael Penix, whether it's Drake May, I don't know what, but I know this much. I think Justin Fields is going to be a good quarterback in this league. And I'll say this, and I was thinking about this the other night, and I was going to run this by you. All right, I mean, do we really think that? Okay, to me, the bar for Justin Fields is Jalen Hurts. All right. To me, there's no reason to think that Justin Fields can't be the kind of quarterback that Jalen Hurts is, right? To me, that's the bar for him. Now, how long are you willing to wait for that? How long are you willing to set up for that? And on top of that, I don't know that I'm ready to give him $40 million right now. No. I'm just not. I mean, and that's what the Bears would have to do. They'd have to give him an extension here pretty soon, whereas obviously you reset things. And look, I've heard too many. Look, Caleb Williams emotionally bugs me, but you know what? I've heard too many football people way smarter than me talk about how this dude just, from a pure football standpoint, that this dude's as good as we've seen in a long time. So you know what? I'll ride with that. Plus, I'll tell you what. I mean, I saw him at Oklahoma. I've seen him at USC. The dude can throw the pill. I mean, he's a better natural thrower of the football than Justin Fields is. Can he do all the things with his feet Justin Fields can? No, not necessarily. But again, you're resetting your quarterback timeline and your overall kind of, what you can do from a salary cap standpoint. So that being said, they play the Green Bay Packers today. That's a game where if Green Bay wins, they get in. If they lose, they need all kinds of help. I think Green Bay does enough to win the football game today, though.
I certainly do. It's in Lambeau Field, so they've got the home field advantage. Of course, I think Jordan Love.
They fucked it up last year.
Yeah, they did screw it up last year, but I think Jordan Love has improved leaps and bounds over this year. We've watched him. Right. We watched him improve. Aaron Jones is finally back. Right.
I think he is playing today.
Yeah.
Who isn't playing today? Matt Jones, made inactive by the New England Patriots.
There you go.
Look, real quick. I'm telling you right now, Mac Jones will be a starting quarterback in the NFL. Not next year, but the year after.
Well, I mean, he's got the tools. We saw the potential. Certainly, he just needs someone to, coach him up. But anyway, so it'll be very interesting to see what the Bears do. There's a lot of hue and cry as to what to do. They've got the first overall pick, and I think number 11, right, Fred?
Something like that. Yeah, they're 9, 10, 11, somewhere in there, depending upon how wins.
So they're sitting in the catbird seat about what to do, but there's also a lot of uncertainty. Matt Eberflus, I believe, is safe.
I've heard that he is. That he is.
Yeah. He hasn't been given the dreaded vote of confidence by the CEO yet, but from what I understand, they've done enough. They've played hard. They've won some games late strip. Listen, that place was a mess. About 5 weeks into the season, and what are they? 6-10, I believe.
I believe so. No, they're as you were. They're 7-9. You better put
7-9. So yeah, isn't that amazing? 7, same record as the Raiders. So they got a chance to really, to really surprise some people going 8-9. But it's a tall order, and I think you're right. I think the Packers do enough. They've got enough momentum.
I think so. I think so.
So
The other game today that's got a little bit of playoff, obviously, and these are all NFC games, and we'll get to the one obviously that's the biggest game of the weekend. Buccaneers at Panthers. Look, this game's in Carolina. Carolina is I mean, look, I think they're just showing up because they have to. They're contractually obligated to. I like Tampa Bay to win this game. As great as Baker Mayfield's been, a bounce back year for him. He's been beat up the last few weeks. He does have bruised ribs. He is going to go today, and all they need to do is win today, and they're in. So I like Tampa Bay to win. I will do this caveat, though. If Carolina finds a way to win today, all right, if they defeat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, when all Tampa Bay for the last 2 weeks has needed a win-and-in scenario, I think if they lose today and spit the bit for 2 straight weeks and lose out on the playoffs after all they had to do was win, I think Todd Bowles gets a hard look at maybe it's time to move on.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
because Todd Bowles is what he is, man. I'm sorry.
Right, exactly. You had 2 winnable games, including one at Carolina, which is an absolute mess in the
worst team in the NFL. If you can't beat the worst team in the NFL for a playoff spot, you deserve to lose your job.
Right, exactly. And look, even though it's in Carolina, I'm sure it's going to be like a home game for the Buccaneers. Their fans travel actually pretty decently, and it's not that far up the road from Tampa. And all they got to do is just win. Even if they lose, well, no, if they lose, then they're out. But I mean, if they tie, and if the Seahawks lose and the Packers lose or tie, then they're still in. But even if they lose this game, even if they make the playoffs, they'd have to go deep for Todd Bowles to keep his job, I think.
Yeah, at that point, you're good. So who do you like today, though? You like Tampa Bay to win?
Oh, Tampa Bay, yeah, for sure. They've got a lot more pieces. Carolina's offense is just pathetic. Absolutely, they do nothing well.
I'm going to go with New Orleans.
Hubbard can save them.
I'm going to go with New Orleans to beat the Falcons just for the simple fact, it's a home game. I don't like Desmond Ridder or Taylor Heineke, and I do think Arthur Smith should lose his job considering the amount of talent he's got on that football team and still can't find ways to get guys in positions to succeed. So I like New Orleans to win this football game. I know you and I and Henry talked about, would Dennis Allen be on the hot seat? And I just don't think he is, just for the simple fact that this team is just – it's just a very average football team. I mean, right. I think, look, it's a 9-8, 8-9 football team. He's done exactly what this team is. Derek Carr is a middling NFL quarterback at this stage in his career, and he is, your record is what what is it? You are what your record says you are, and Derek Carr is about an 8 or 9 win quarterback.
Right. Chris Olave kind of came down to earth after the last season. Michael Thomas has been MIA, and when he is on the field,
about Michael Thomas though.
What's that?
Michael Thomas has been MIA for about 3 seasons.
True, yeah, but he makes no bones about throwing his quarterback under the bus, which is never a good thing, especially when you're not on the fucking field. Alvin Kamara, suspended for his first 3 weeks of the season, and then he's been hurt in and out. The defense is okay, but they are carrying that team. And let's face it, the NFC South is a joke. It's an absolute joke. I mean, 9-8 is going to win that division.
Michael Thomas, who had a monster start to his NFL career. For 4 years, he was one of the most dynamic receivers in the National Football League. Then he gets hurt in 2020, and I can speak very candidly about this because I picked him number 1 in my fantasy league, feeling extra good about it. And what did he do that year, Mike Babbo? After 2 seasons in which my man had 274 passes for 3,100 yards in 2 seasons and 18 touchdowns, like just stupid, sick video game type numbers. So I'm thinking, I got number 13 in round 1 at like pick number 10. By the way, number 10 has been a just toxic pick for me. So I'm thinking, hey, we're going to eat this year. And my man had 40 catches for 438 yards and count them, not 1, not 2, not 3, but he scored as many touchdowns that year as the hosts on this show did in 2020. So, needless to say, Mike Thomas, God bless you. But, my man's been MIA for –
and he didn't even play in 2021 at all.
No, just sat that year out. Said, you know what? I'm gonna take a mental health year. Take a sabbatical. I'll see you guys in 2022. We'll see you when we see you. That being said, I'm guessing you like New Orleans to win this game.
Yeah, I do. All right. Atlanta is just really they had the fate in their own hands 3 weeks ago, and they just absolutely said, no, we want nothing to do. I think they lost to the, who was it? I think they lost to the Buccaneers at home.
Might have been. All right, let's rapid fire this because you got the links calling your name and
actually I got some time, Freddie D. It's okay.
Well, here's my thing. I want you to get on the green, or I want you to, I know you got to get your little shots in, or whatever golfers do. Because look, not everybody can be like Fred, just raw dog it, just start hole one and just go right.
It's all range time, and some people actually.
Some of you late folk got to warm up a little bit. You know what I mean? But we can't all be Freddie D in this. But anywho, all right, real quick, we'll do rapid fire these next two games because at the end of the day, again, it's pride that we're playing for, and fuck pride. Chiefs and Chargers. Look, I could care less. I don't even know how much
care really.
Watch. No Pat Mahomes. I'm okay with that, and of course, Chiefs people are. And I'll tell you what, Chiefs Twitter. Can I just say this? You fucking new fans that just came on board when Pat Mahomes started, go fuck yourselves, okay? Go fuck yourselves, all right?
This is a rerun.
Look, man, let me tell you something, okay? First of all, we get it on Twitter how, everybody – the big thing that I've noticed with Twitter and Instagram is that people will start to take they'll take a comment that goes viral or gets a lot of likes, and then they'll steal that template, and then they'll just change words around, right? And so – there was this idiotic post a couple days ago where some Chiefs fan is like, Justin Tucker is looked at as one of the best kickers in the NFL, but he's cocky and he's a villain, but he gets the hero role. And then Harrison Butker's one of the nicest guys in the NFL, but he's made a villain. I said, are we talking about fucking kickers? Yeah. Okay, are we talking about, first of all, who in their right mind has ever said that Harrison Butker's a villain? Okay, fuck Harrison Butker. I mean, is that where we're at, Chiefs fans? Where you guys are complaining about how people view Harrison Butker? Really? Okay, Harrison Butker caught some shit a couple years ago because he said he wasn't taking the vax. Okay, and he said it on religious. Look, this is also the same dude that was in seminary to be a priest. Okay, so Harrison Butker is about that life. All right, like when we say he's devout, my man is devout. All right. That being said, I don't care. I just want you to make fucking kicks, Harrison Butker. I don't give a fuck if you don't ever get vaxxed. I don't care if you claim it because of God, Jehovah, Allah, and Festivus. I don't care. Make the motherfucking field goal. Justin Tucker. Do I care if he's the cocky? Who in their right mind has ever said to themselves, I don't like Justin Tucker because he's so cocky? Nobody. But some idiotic fucking Chiefs fan who has no fucking time or has no life. And then literally 2 days later, somebody says the exact same thing, but instead of the kickers, they use the quarterbacks. I'm like, I'm done. I'm done with Chiefs Twitter. You fucking half of you are morons. I told you fucking idiots in week 1 that we needed wide receiver help. And then the new fans come back and say,
no grade.
We got 15. Hey, you guys are complaining too much. This is the same group as last year. Get the fuck out of here. Anyway, Chiefs, I don't even know if they win today. Doesn't matter. They got the 3 seed booked in. I'll tell you what I am worried about, and I'll say this. I'm pulling for if Jacksonville wins today, I do get a little bit nervous depending upon what happens in the Miami-Buffalo game because I'm telling you right now, Texans scare me a little bit.
Yeah.
The Texans scare me. Now, that being said, I think my boy Spags would put CJ in a little bit of a clown suit just for the simple fact that, I'll tell you what, that Colts defense, while it's okay, there was a lot of shit they left on the field yesterday. There was a lot. And look, I get it. And not to mention, too, the Texans, it's like, look, they got 2 guys to throw to. You got Nico Collins and Dalton Schultz. That's pretty much it, which, well, when you're the Chiefs, you've pretty much got 2 guys to throw to as well. So, who are we to talk? That being said, rapid fire, I'm going to go with the Chiefs just because I can't help myself. I'm also going to go with the Vegas Raiders to win their game today and take care of business and really make it difficult for our boy, for our boy Mark Davis to decide. Because, like I said, if AP gets that win today, you're feeling pretty good about things. And then last but not least, the game that is hands down the biggest game of the weekend because, again, not only are there playoff implications, but you're talking about divisional implications on the line. Buffalo at Miami, and this is a big game, obviously, as we just alluded to, but this is a big game for Miami because Miami's putting their soul on the line. Miami's putting their purpose on the line. Miami's putting their, like, if we didn't like Mike McDaniel so much, and if he wasn't such a nerdy, nice guy, why are we not raking him over the coals for the fact that, look, we love dogging on Mike McCarthy when the Cowboys couldn't win. What big game has Miami won this year? What game can we look at and say, oh, Miami's legit? They've gotten the shit beat out of them by every big-time team they've played this year. If they go out and get mopped by the Buffalo Bills today,
yeah,
I like
no question about it.
I like Buffalo.
The Bills are a 2.5-point favorite in Miami, which says a lot.
You got no Jalen Waddle and no Raheem Mostert, and oh, by the way, Bradley Chubb blew out his ACL last week.
Right.
Playing in a game he had no business playing in. So, you're talking about you got 3 big-time playmakers. Now, they've still got playmakers on that roster. I'll tell you what, if you're doing daily fantasy, you might take a long flyer on a guy like a Chase Claypool today. Obviously, A-Chain is going to be a huge factor today. And then, of course, Tyreek, obviously he's going to, he may get freaking 15, 20 targets today, just for the simple fact that they're going to need him today if they're going to – and a little bit's right. I'll tell you what, a little bit's riding on Tua. Well, I say a little bit. A lot's riding on Tua. This guy that's going to be talking about a contract extension, if you go out and shit the bed again today, and the conversation is, well, you've been healthy all year. Okay, great, but you can't win a big game.
Yeah.
So where are we at with that? And, oh, by the way, you got 2 of the best fucking receivers in the NFL, and you still can't win a big game? I like Buffalo today.
Honestly, I'm looking at their schedule, what they've done over this year. I mean, the only quality win really is against the Cowboys.
Yes, they beat the Cowboys at home a couple weeks
ago. But you know what? The Cowboys are the NFC equivalent to the Miami Dolphins.
We've been saying that all year. No, we've been saying that all year.
Exactly. And then you have to go back to the Raiders, the victory against the Raiders, and they shouldn't have won that game. They were down in that game. And they got beat the hell up in that game too. I mean, A-Chain got out after being out for 4 weeks. He lasted, I think, a quarter. Raheem Mostert went out. Tyreek Hill went out for a little bit. They got beat up, and the rest of their schedule was absolute cake. They faced the Jets, the Commanders, the Titans, the Jets again. And then of course the one game where they really could show their mettle against Baltimore. In Baltimore, they got absolutely boat raced. Where they weren't in that game after the first period. So, yeah, they've got a lot to prove.
Buffalo beat the shit out of them earlier this year when they played for the first time.
Yeah.
So, all right. Who do you like, KC? Who do you like, KC Chargers?
Oh, the Chiefs. I don't care if Blaine Gabbert's playing. You know what?
That's right, because they're the Chargers have their backup quarterback. So you're right. It doesn't give a shit. Vegas, Denver.
It's got to be the Raiders. The Raiders are playing for a lot. They are playing for their head coach's future. They're playing for basically continuity, and I think that they're going to come out swinging. Whereas, look, ironically, the quarterback they're going to be facing is Jarrett Stidham, who started their last 2 games last year. After they benched Derek Carr, and Derek Carr took his ball and his Bible and he went home. So they like Jarrett Stidham, but they're going to beat him up because the defense that was last year, much improved. Hands down.
Right.
So they're going to beat them up too good.
Okay, so you and I so far are. This could be a first in the history of the show.
If they lose this game, Fred, then it'll basically ruin the season. Because it will, because they've got all the motivation to play for. Okay. And if they come out flat against a team like in Denver, which is in disarray, okay? And
are the Denver Broncos as much in? I would say that I think you're talking about 2 teams that are literally in almost the exact same position.
No, I mean, I still think no, because I think the Raiders still believe in AO. At least in the people in that locker room, they like AO4. They like Aiden O'Connell.
You can like a guy, but it doesn't mean they believe in him.
Well, they don't believe in Russell Wilson either. I don't think they believe in
Russell Wilson. That's what I'm saying. You're in the same position. You're in a very, I think, to me, you're in a very similar situation.
I think they believe in the fact that he doesn't make the mistakes that he did his first start when they just threw him in there. But yeah, do they believe in that he can win the game? No, but I think that they, I see your point. I mean, they are.
You know what I'm saying? Like, he's the kind of guy that you can rally behind, but deep down, you're saying to yourself, "Man, this dude's gonna fuck things up for us." Because he is such a nice guy. Like, you don't want to talk shit. And look, the thing about AOC, I'll say, is this. The dude's a gamer, right? Like, the dude's going out there. He's firing till the end. He's taking lumps. He's going out there. He's giving you everything the kid has. And the thing about him is that every now and again, he'll throw a dime. He'll throw a pass. And he'll be like, okay. And then the next
my point is that, so here's the thing. My point is that I was so disappointed in the Raiders' effort against Indianapolis because after the great job that they did against the Kansas City offense, they go into Indianapolis, and what does Indy do? They march right down the fucking field and score a touchdown in the first series.
Yeah, but
that can't happen today, Fred. That cannot happen.
It can. And look, you're going to find out today. I think today, to your point, you're going to find out today because look, a game like last week was tough for the Raiders just because the emotion, there was no way you were going to replicate that emotion from the week before, right?
Well, that was amazing. But it was in front of you. Everything was in front of you, okay? All you had to do is take care of – and listen, I mean, Indianapolis didn't play that great.
No, they didn't. They
only scored 6 points in the second half.
But again, I think that goes – and look, that's what happens, to your point. That's what happens when you have – a quarterback that you like, but you don't believe in.
I knew you were going there, and I totally agree with you.
You know, like that's it. Because look,
we also
have a quarterback you believe in. Guess what? You can beat the Indianapolis Colts, and you can come off that win. But
also, if you have an offensive coordinator that's not doing this for the first time ever, so
you got a lot of pieces in play,
right?
No question.
AOC is part of the problem. He's not the entire problem.
Oh no! I agree with you.
I know you know that. Okay.
Anyway. That being said, Buffalo, Miami.
Buffalo.
Buffalo.
I mean, they've got more talent.
Time.
I mean, now
our show.
Huh?
I said for the first time in the history of our show, Fred and Mike agree across the board on all 6 games. All 6 games right there. We're both going with Green Bay. We're both going with New Orleans, Tampa, Kansas City, Vegas, and.
Would I be surprised if Miami beats Buffalo because Buffalo doesn't play well on the road? Would I be surprised because, listen, Tyreek Hill and Jaylen Waddle are going to play, right?
No, Jaylen Waddle's out.
Oh, he's out.
No, Jaylen Waddle's out, bro. No, Jaylen Waddle's out.
Yeah, I'm sticking with the Bills.
No, that's what I'm saying. Jaylen Waddle and Raheem Mostert are both out today.
Oh, then Church.
That's what I'm saying. The game today is look, Tua. You better show us something today, okay? Like, it's time look, you better put on your Superman cape and show us that you're a franchise quarterback.
Yep.
Okay? Yep. Because you know what you're going to get from 17 on the other side. You know 17 is going to go down firing. That's the one thing I don't care what anybody says about Josh Allen. The one thing you know about this, my man is going to go down flinging it.
Yeah,
all right?
Absolutely.
Can Tua be that same guy today? And I would not be at all surprised. Look, I would love to see Buffalo get beat today. I really, really would. Because I'm a lot more worried about that Buffalo team than I am about that Miami team come playoff time.
Yeah, no question.
So, anywho, all right. Real quick, Mike is golfing today. What are we thinking score-wise? Are we thinking low 90s? We thinking high 80s? We thinking?
Oh, you know what? I haven't broken 90 in a while. I mean, it's usually like in the low 90s, and I'm hoping the swing's getting there, but I'm hoping for an 86.
Okay.
I'm hoping for an 86, 85.
Right.
I'd like that. We're playing. It's going to be kind of a hit. It's going to be kind of a hit and giggle. My man Shane Haskins and I are playing with our respective lovely wives.
Okay.
So we're expecting to have some fun, but not take it too seriously. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, I don't believe that for one bit because I think once you get on the course, all hell breaks loose. So there you go. Bit of Mike Babbo, always a pleasure. Enjoy the golf today. Enjoy the games, and we'll see you next week to preview some playoff games.
Yep, can't wait. Yep, that last week of the NFL season, it happened really quick, man. It's just amazing. Yeah. We need to actually what we need to do is we need to do a postmortem on our season predictions for each
Yeah,
season.
I've got those notes written down somewhere, so I got to find.
I got them somewhere around here too.
I got to find those between.
I did
me
my
and
schedule
you.
grid. I mean, hey, look, I wasn't that far off with the Steelers. They went 10-7. I think.
No, you weren't. I'll give you credit, and I, like I said, I rode with the Bears, but again, we'll find. Like I said, I got to find that. Now you got me thinking about that. So, anywho, look, everybody, enjoy the games today. Have fun out there, and of course, obviously the big game tonight, so we'll all be tuned in. Oh, last thing, real quick. Get you out here with it. Who do you got tomorrow night?
Oh shoot. Washington in a squeaker.
Oh, I like Washington the points as well. You and I like where your head's at, and I'm in agreement with you wholeheartedly. Like I said, Wednesday it'll be myself, and we might push it to Thursday. Depends. We'll see. We got our boy Henry Thomas. We might have him jump on the show as well, get his thoughts on the playoffs and all that good stuff. So, a HD show preview of the 2024 or 2023 NFL playoffs. So for the one, the only bit of Mike Babel, I'm still that dude, Freddie D, from H-Town to San Antonio to Kansas City and all points in between. Enjoy the games today. We'll see you on Wednesday. Good day. God bless.
See ya.
Boom.